Okay, now we're going to look at another zoomed in version of a watershed using our model here. And we're going to talk about how human activity affects the quality of our watershed. We are going to focus on the top 3 pollutants that affect our Colorado River, which again is where we get all of our drinking water from. So those are going to be dirt, bacteria, and nutrients. Okay, let's start with dirt. You might not think about dirt being a pollutant of the Colorado River, but it does become a problem when we have too much of it. So let's say that we've got some construction going on here, and they're kicking up lots of dirt and sediment around the work site. Now, if you've ever driven by a construction site, you might notice that usually they have barriers set up around the construction site. That is to contain the dirt, because if dirt is able to run off and onto the street, it could end up in a nearby waterway. That's an issue because too much dirt can smother or suffocate different aquatic life, and it can be a problem for us too when it gets into our drinking water. Some of you might remember the 2018 boil notice that we had here in Austin, and that was actually because there was too much sediment in our intake that we were having trouble filtering out. So dirt is a top pollutant of the Colorado River, and we can prevent that from happening by putting barriers around our construction sites. Next, let's talk about bacteria. So let's go over to Farmer Fred here. And we can see he's got some animals on his farm. And we all know that farm animals will produce some waste. So Farmer Fred's cow here has some waste. And this is a problem because animal waste has bacteria in it. Bacteria like E. coli can make us very, very sick if it gets in the water. Now, how can we prevent this? Well, maybe Farmer Fred could move his cows further away from the nearby creek. Or he should have some sort of barrier to prevent any waste from getting in the water. Next, we'll talk about nutrients. So let's go over here to the neighborhood. And it looks like this house is having some trouble with their lawn. So let's say they want to make their lawn nice and green like their neighbors. They're going to add some fertilizer. Now, fertilizer makes our plants grow, it makes our lawns nice and green, and that's what we want. But what we don't want is for this fertilizer to get in the water, because when fertilizer gets in the water, the nutrients like nitrates and phosphates cause algae blooms. You might have seen algae blooms in a pond or the Colorado River, and those algae blooms can block out sunlight, and they also suck up a lot of oxygen that's needed by other plants and animals in the water. So we have all of these pollutants on the land right now, but what's going to happen when it rains? Where do you think that pollution is going to end up? Well, let's see. All right, that was a pretty heavy rainstorm we just had here. And now we can see that all of those pollutants that came from different areas of the town are all mixed up here in our river, which again, we get 100% of our drinking water from the Texas-Colorado River. Now, is this going to be great for the plants and animals living in the water? No. And it's also going to be a problem for us because even though we clean and treat our water before it gets to our house, the dirtier and more polluted it is, the more time, money, and resources we have to spend fixing it.